Hello, everybody, and welcome to another MMOFTW. As always, I'm your host, Bill Murphy, and this is the week that was in MMO and RPG news. Now, not a lot really happened this week until pretty much later in the week, so we'll get to all that. But first, I want to do a little rant for you guys. As many of you probably feel the same way. You know, around this time of year, it's November almost, the end of October, the leaves are changing and falling, and everything's starting to get a little bit cooler, and I start to feel nostalgic for 2004's fall. Do you remember what it was like when Guild Wars 2, when EverQuest 2 and World of Warcraft were both coming out around the same time? The hype that was in the air, the sort of stances that you would take with, I'm going to play this game, or I'm going to play this game, and man, when it both finally came out, EverQuest 2 was, admittedly underwhelming. The game has undergone a lot of changes to make it the fantastic MMORPG it is today. But I did play World of Warcraft, as many of you did, from the end of closed beta all the way for a few years after launch, and I remember that feeling of walking through Elwyn Forest and first playing through Darkshire and going through the Defias camps and the Van Cleef storyline and all that stuff. And I just say, man, it's probably been a really long time, almost 10 years now, since we had a game that was going to come out like that and make you feel those sort of feelings of adventure. Guild Wars 2 came close, and in fact, Guild Wars 2 for me was one of the best MMOs in recent years. I know that's contentious and people will argue about it and everything, but as you look forward now, what is there? What is there coming in the horizon? You know, this fall we have some excellent expansions with the Star Wars Old Republic new expansion that's going to continue the Revan storyline. We have the EverQuest 2 expansion that's going to be very good for those players. There's the Warlords of Draenor expansion, which for me is fantastic. I'll be playing that one. There was the Rift expansion that just came out, which really looks good and adds a whole new underwater mechanic to the game, plus a whole bunch of other new features and raids and dungeons and stuff. There's a new Tera expansion, which we're going to talk about shortly. All these expansions to older games, but where's the brand new game that we're sort of waiting for? If you look on the horizon, there's not many. We see EverQuest next, and who knows when that's really going to come out and what it's actually going to be like. We see little snippets at SOE Live this past year, and it really looks good and promising, but it seems like it's probably years away before we're actually going to get to play it, as the devs keep focusing on Landmark. So I guess that's really what I'm here to rant about, is it just feels like there's not a lot to look forward to in the MMO world right now. And that makes it painfully clear why it's a good thing for our website and for me that we're covering some single-player RPGs over the next several months, because there's some great ones coming out with Dragon Age Origins, The Witcher 3, Lords of the Fallen, Bloodborne. There was just recently, there's Wasteland 2, there's Pillars of Eternity is coming out early next year, and all that stuff. So it's a golden age again for like computer RPGs and for even console RPGs. But we're sitting here waiting for something to wow us in the MMO world, and it's just not happening, and it's a little discouraging. But that's what we have to do as MMO players. We have to wait, and we play what we can, and we enjoy what we do, and bitch about everything else in the meantime, and then maybe something surprising comes along and catches us off guard. And hopefully 2015 will have some good announcements like that, maybe, if we're lucky. But anyway, on to this week's news, eh? So we just mentioned it. Tera Rising has a brand new expansion coming out. It's called The Fate of the Arun. The Fate of the Arun is going to increase the level cap to 65. It's going to add new zones, new skills, dungeons, gear, new PvP battleground. But there's no classes or playable races or classes that are yet announced yet. So we'll see if that's going to happen, because the Reaper class was so well received by the Tera community. I don't think we're going to see a new class in this expansion. This seems to be mostly a content-based expansion, which is never a bad thing. Next up is NCSoft's Layoffs. That's right, NCSoft had some pretty nasty layoffs this week, as we probably could have expected. NCSoft West, that's the company, the part of the company that handles development for Lineage 2, WildStar, Ion, all those games. They saw at least 60 people laid off as they're restructuring the company. None of those layoffs touched ArenaNet and Guild Wars 2, which is, I guess, a good thing. If you're a fan of that game, that means that game's still doing healthy enough that they didn't have to lay people off. However, it's obviously bad news for WildStar, as we've seen a lot of devs leave. People that were a driving force behind the game have moved on, and now even more are laid off. It really makes us hope and makes us wonder for the future of WildStar and Nexus. But we'll just see what they can do with their new leadership and their new expansion and content cadence. Hopefully, they can turn things around. And then next up is World of Warcraft news with Metallica. Metallica. I remember when I really liked Metallica. But anyway, they're going to be rocking the closing ceremonies of Blizzcon, which, since I'll be there, I gotta admit, I'm kind of excited to see, because I've never seen Metallica live. As 1995 as they might be, I think I'll still enjoy it if they start playing Enter Sandman live at Blizzcon. That'll be sweet. Or if they team up with the Tauren Chieftain band, that'd be sweet too. Anyway, so the Final Fantasy XIV news, let's move on to that. The Heavensward expansion was announced just last weekend, actually, at the Fan Fest for Final Fantasy in Vegas. The Heavensward expansion is going to have airships, new races, the ninja and thief jobs and classes are going to be added to the game, a whole bunch of great new content, new dungeons, all that stuff. It really seems like Square Enix is not slowing down with Final Fantasy XIV, and their success continues to keep mounting. It's probably one of the best and most robust theme park MMOs out there, and if you want to find out more about the expansion, be sure to head over to MMORPG and go to the Final Fantasy XIV page and read our exclusive interview with Yoshi P from the fan event in Vegas. And last up, we'll talk about EVE Online. It's going to be striking out in bold new directions, or so they say. At another fan event at EVE Vegas this past week, it was announced that there are some mini content updates. I think they're called Phoebe and Rhea, which to me, I think they're moons. I'm not sure. I'm not too up on my my astronomy. Astrology is the right one. I always get those two confused. Phoebe and Rhea, November and December updates will have a bunch of changes to skill trees. There's going to be glass cannon weapons, planned a corporation and alliance overhaul. There's going to be Tech 3 tactical destroyers, a massive tug industrial ship that can haul several battleships at once, and an updated look for the Blackbird hull. They're even going to be doing features and improvements to improve the new player experience, to hopefully ease the learning curve for new players, because while obviously EVE has a strong core set of players that are still playing the game and always will play the game, it's really hard for them to get new players. So we'll have to find out what Phoebe and Rhea do to make that new player experience easier, and hopefully it doesn't break the complexity of the game that's there. Now, these announced changes were very well received by a lot of fans, but there's still some folks that want some more things changed, like mining and additional, hooks to grab people at the beginning. So we'll see just how well Phoebe and Rhea do, and what the next real expansion next year will bring to under the tutelage of the new. And that was my dryer. You're going to have to ignore that because I'm not re-recording this. That was my dryer. Under the new creative director at CCP on EVE, and the refocus on the EVE universe now that World of Darkness has been canceled and Dust 514 just didn't do very well. So we'll see how things go. Anyway, that'll do it for this week's news. Thanks for listening to me rant this week. As always, don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook at MMORPG.com without the dot. If you want to, you can follow me on Twitter at TheBillMurphy. And as always, remember, don't let a bad pug get you down.